Jarrett, Jared, Kiki, Sarah, Mark, Dakota, Kira, Tobias, Athena, Thomas, Trent, Gavin, Henry, Nick, Dean, Derek, Anna, Grant, Kobe. We have Chris on Zoom, Zach, Felix, Carly, Colton, Ben, Maddie, Brock, Jeremy. Yeah, I got you. Okay, we're going to talk through chapter 4 today. We're going to talk about some homework things. There seems to be a little bit of confusion and get that all cleared up. And that's going to be it for today. Just a second. Save the agenda. Okay. So chapter 4 is all about the writing process. So we're going to start doing some writing in here, which I know you're all super excited about. Everyone loves to write things. It's not going to be that bad, I promise. But what we need to make sure we're doing, and what really helps when we're writing, we're doing some kind of business writing, so writing emails and writing blog posts and social media posts and things like that, is to think about our audience. Who is going to be reading this particular message? From that, we're going to plan the purpose, content, and organization of the message, and we'll talk through how to do that. We're going to work on writing some drafts of things. Your paper, your individual paper in here, you'll have a draft that you do. A couple of drafts that you do, actually. We'll get to that later. And then we're going to talk about how we proofread and analyze at the end before we send that message out. So things like checking for style, correctness, format. Every formal paper we do in here is APA style. We'll talk later this week or next week about how to write an APA style. A little refresher in that, because I know some of you might not have done that yet. And also, we're going to talk about proofreading. Some of you do really great at proofreading. Some of you need a little help with that. And I'm going to give you my biggest trick, the one that I use on everything I write for all of my homework that I've had to do, especially in my dissertation, for how to proofread things super easy and super fast. Okay? Most of you probably already know it, but that's okay. We'll talk about it. All right, so 5 things we're going to cover. Audience analysis, planning, drafting, revising, proofreading. That's where we're going today. We need to think about this a little bit strategically through this series of steps. And of course, the first step is to analyze our audience. So if I'm writing an email, the email that I write to you guys, right, to my students, it's probably going to read a little bit differently than an email that I might write to my boss, right? There's a different relationship there. If I'm writing to you guys, usually it's to inform you about homework or remind you about something. If I'm writing to my boss, it could be a myriad of other things. Okay. So, who's our receiver? If we're a business, is our receiver the customer? What do we want our customers to know? Is it someone else in our business? Planning. We're going to learn how to determine purpose, content, and organization. Drafting, composing that all-important first draft. Editing for content, style, and correctness, and then the super fun proofreading. All right. So the first question for you guys today. What's the value? Why is it important for us to analyze our audience? Yeah.
So you know what to say.
So you know what to say. It's a great answer. Why else is it important to analyze our audience?
So you know who you're talking to.
What?
So you know who you're talking to.
So you know who you're talking to? Any other reasons? Yeah.
And about the body language, you can kind of like tell how good you're doing like presentation.
Okay, let's go. Let's focus just on writing.
Writing?
Yeah.
Reaching out.
What?
Okay.
Okay, that's okay. What about the format in which we talk to them? Okay. How do you guys primarily communicate with places you might shop at or buy things from?
In writing.
Yeah.
Feel like they
If you're going to talk to a company, how are you going to talk to them?
Email.
Email, reviews, social media. Okay. If I'm going to talk to a company, I'm probably not going to contact them on social media. I'm probably going to email them. We need to make sure we're communicating in the right format. And by format, I mean the right communication channel. Okay. There are some people in this world that don't use email, right? There are some people in this world that only use email. I don't ever like talk on my phone. I just tell people to email me. Mostly because my phone upstairs, I don't know how to turn their volume up on it. So like the ringer is just broken. There's a whole generation of people that primarily use social media to communicate, right? We have to know how to best reach that audience. Some things to remember about your audience. No one is perfect, okay? What you write the first time might not match your intention, or it might come off differently than what you meant. People need specific information. Okay, especially when we're writing something and they can't read our body language, right? We need to be very specific with the information we give. Most people on this planet, most people are honest and reasonable, okay? So remember that when you're writing. Most people are honest and reasonable. There are some people, though, no matter what we say or how we say it, are not going to like what we say, okay? They're going to get angry and mad. And we can't help that. People want to know what they will gain by taking action. If I say, hey, I really need you to donate like $20 to this cause, if I don't tell you anything else about it, I'm probably not going to get you to donate money to it. But if I tell you why it's important, who it's helping, what you're going to get out of this, you might be more willing to donate $20. People don't like to be talked down to, okay? Especially when we're writing an email, maybe to someone that works for us. We don't want to talk down to them. And most people would react to your message the same way you would if you had received it. So when you write something, make sure you're reading it and thinking about how you would receive that, how you would react to it if you were the person receiving that message, okay? Does that all make sense? All right. So we're going to run through a little example of some questions we can ask ourselves when we're trying to think about our audience. For this particular example, we're going to think about if we own a hotel and we have housekeepers that go in and clean the room. Usually they work from 8 to 4. Okay, we're going to change those hours just by 30 minutes from 8:30 to 4:30. A little bit different. So if our housekeeper hours were changed from 8 to 4, or from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., would that be a big change? Does it seem like a very big change? Going from 8 to 4 to 8:30 to 4:30?
Yes.
Some of you say no, some of you say yes. So let's walk through our steps. Who's our audience when we're when we're writing up this memo? Let's say it's a memo or email. Who's our audience going to be?
My guest at the hotel.
We're just talking to our employees here. The housekeepers. That's our audience. What's our relationship with the audience?
We're their boss.
We're their boss, right? They work for us. How are they going to react to this? Those of you who said this isn't a big deal, Why do you think it's not going to be a big deal?
Like going later, like 30 minutes. 30 minutes is like nothing.
Okay, it's just 30 minutes. Those of you who said this is a big deal, why? Why is it a big deal?
If they have kids, they have to change their whole schedule. Their kids have to change their whole schedule.
Yeah, we don't know their individual situation, right? They might have something they have to be at 4:30. Every day at 2:30, I have to leave here to go pick up my daughter. She usually comes back to work with me on the days I pick her up. One of you got to meet her the other day. Dean met her. She was coloring puppies on a coloring book in my office. Okay. But if suddenly my class schedule got changed and I had to teach at 2:30, I would have a major problem because there's no one else right now that can pick up my kid at 2:30. Okay. So we need to think about how that's going to affect some of our housekeepers. What does our audience already know?
What their current hours are.
They know what their current hours are. And what is unique about the audience we're writing to? What's unique about them?
It only applies in that setting.
It only applies in this setting, right? This is only for the housekeepers that work in this hotel. Okay, so what are some things that we could do? What are some things we could say to those particular employees who might have an issue with changing their hours? We're gonna kind of think beyond just the communication or the writing part of this. Use some of that empathy that I know you guys have. To get over it, let's not do that. What are some things we could do? Let's say Colton has a really big conflict with coming in at 8:30 and leaving at 4:30. He's fine with 8 to 4, but 8:30 to 4:30, for whatever reason, is a little rough. What might we do?
It's the same amount of time.
Hmm?
It's the same amount of time.
It's the same amount of time, but how can we specifically help Colton?
You could tell them that like we could work something out.
We can try to work something out. Okay, so maybe we talk to all of our housekeepers and we figure out that they're like, say we have 20 housekeepers and 10 of them have an issue with the new schedule. Let's figure out a way to work with them, okay? When we're making policy changes, again, this goes beyond kind of the scope of this particular chapter. When we're making policy changes, think about how that's going to affect all of your employees, okay? Especially your employees that have children or family members they're taking care of, employees that might be going through difficult situations. For a time, one of my kids was in therapy every Monday at a specific time every Monday, and we couldn't change those appointments, right? So think about those situations and try to figure out ways to work with your employees. Maybe Jeremy has no problem with 8 to 4, and Colton does, right? One of them come in 8 to 4, one could be 8:30 to 4:30. Doesn't matter, okay? 30 minutes. If it's super important for us to have everyone on the same schedule, again, we can still be empathetic, okay? So maybe it really is a super huge issue for someone to leave at 4:30. Let's try to figure out why and see how we can help, okay? Maybe they just need to leave half an hour early. That's okay, they're gonna lose half an hour of pay, but that's not the end of the world sometimes, right? It depends, okay? So make sure you're being empathetic when you're thinking about your audience. How about planning? Planning is our decision-making process about the purpose of our message, the content of our message, and how we're going to organize that particular message, okay? So on our screen, we have some general purpose statements and then some specific communication objectives from those general purpose statements. Okay, so our general purpose for writing something might be to compliment an employee after we observed a difficult customer interaction. The specific objective there would be to have the employee feel good after the interaction with the customer and understand that they handled, that situation well. Okay. Maybe our purpose is to help a customer to their satisfaction. Specific communication objective to help the customer embed a form on our website and give her confidence to do this on their own in the future. Okay, so think about the purpose of what we're doing, and then how specifically can we get there? One of the ways we might do this is use something called a mind map. Okay, any of you ever seen something like this before? Okay. Getting some head nods and some head shakes. So we'd start out with our message purpose. Okay. Think about all of our possible points we can have. Think about all the different details someone would need to know for those possible points. You do this in a fun little chart like this. You could do it in an outline format with some bullet points. You just write it down. All right. So let's go back to our housekeeping example. Okay. What's the purpose of that message to our housekeepers when we're changing that time? What's our purpose there? To notify them of the change. Okay? So the message purpose is to notify our employees of a change to their hours, right? So let's put some more context around this. We're providing notification of a change. We probably need to give them a reason why, right? If I just come in and say, hey, your hours are going to change, you're going to come in at 8:30 to 4:30 now, and I don't give you any other information, it's not great, right? It's better if I can give you some specific reason, okay? So what are some possible reasons why we could be changing their hours?
Having less early checkouts.
Having less early checkouts, right? How many people check out of their hotel room before 8 a.m.? Besides Gavin. Okay, so Gavin, 1 out of 28 people. Unless I have a specific place to be at a certain time, I'm not getting up that early, okay? I like to sleep in. So we're having less early checkout. There's less need for all the housekeepers to be there at 8 a.m. There's nothing for them to do in that first 30 minutes. So we could use that as a possible point. From that possible point, if there were more details to add, we could add that in there. Again, this is one of those things where we could be super empathetic. Maybe we need some people there at 8 a.m. and those people could be the ones that have some kind of issue with staying a little bit later. Okay. So this is one way we can plan out our content. Another way is to use an outline. At some point in the semester, you guys will do an outline for your individual papers, your individual projects that will look something like this. You give me the purpose, the main points, and a preview, okay? This particular example is for a frequent stay program for a hotel. A lot of hotel talk in this chapter. Why should we create a frequent stay program? And then our main points for that. How we should do it. Our main points, and then some other issues we have to think about, okay? The point here is to take either this mind map that we've done and turn it into something that's a little more readable, a little more workable, okay? The other point is to make sure we're identifying all the things we need to identify. We're identifying our purpose, our main points, and our preview. So our purpose is to create a frequent stay program or to find out if we should. And our main points, guest loyalty, competitive, increased profits. Okay. All right. We have a paragraph up here we're going to read. And we're going to identify the purpose, the main points, and the preview in this paragraph. Okay. So So thank you for hiring our firm to redesign Bistro Q's menu. This report describes our initial ideas and serves as a starting point for discussion. We're excited about the opportunity to work with you and are confident that together we'll create an attractive, innovative menu that is easy to understand. In this report, you will read the project objectives as we understand them, our straw model design, a proposed budget, and next steps. We look forward to your feedback on our proposed approach at our next meeting on November 1st. All right. What is the purpose of this paragraph?
Start a discussion about the redesign of
To start a discussion about the redesign of our menu. What? It kind of reads like a thank you letter at the beginning, right? So our purpose, thanking them for hiring them, starting a discussion, letting them know when we expect feedback, okay? That's the purpose. What's the main point of this paragraph? Which sentence or sentences are our main point?
Bottom one.
It's not the bottom one, that's part of our preview.
We're excited.
We're excited. We're excited about the opportunity to work with you. Oh, I just lost my mouse. That's not good. There it is. Okay. We're excited to work with you and are confident together we'll create an attractive, innovative menu. Okay. What's our preview for the customer? In this report. We're telling them in this very first paragraph of this thing that they're seeing exactly what they're going to see later on. When you do an introduction to a paper, usually somewhere in that first introduction section, you're going to tell me what you're going to talk about in the rest of the paper, right? Most of you have written papers for me before, and you've done that, okay? We want to give our audience an idea of what's coming up. So in this report, you'll read the project objectives as we understand them, our straw model design, proposed budget, next steps. Do this one more time. With a little bit more indirect approach in our introduction, we're going to try to identify the purpose, main points, and the preview again. So trying to figure out the purpose first. It says, last week you mentioned that you would like to do something special for our major clients based on my discussions with several people over the past 6 months. I recommend building a community of our key product users. In this proposal, I'll discuss what other firms are doing and what results they have seen from building client communities. You'll see the potential benefits of hosting a conference for our top 50 clients, improving the perception of our brand, and increasing future sales. So, what is the purpose of this paragraph? It's a follow-up, right? What are we following up on? On what? Benefits of hosting a conference. We're following up, right here in this first sentence, we're following up on doing something special for our major clients, right? So the purpose is that our customer would like to do something special. What's our main points? Recommending building a community. There's another main point in here. What's our other main point? Hosting a conference, right? The benefits of hosting a conference, okay? So they recommend building a community so they can see the potential benefits. All right, so this first part is our purpose. This is our main point. Our preview, you're always going to see for a preview something that says like, in this proposal, in this report, the rest of this email, what I plan to discuss tomorrow, Okay, it's something that's going to lead you to think this is what they're going to talk about later. Right, so in this proposal, I'll discuss what other firms are doing. Okay. You guys are going to do some of that as part of your homework assignment, right? You're going to have some things to read, and you're going to tell me the main point, purpose, and preview. You're also going to be given a topic and have to write something that has a main point, purpose, and preview in it, okay? Let's talk about drafting. How many of you write a paper and that's the first thing that you write is what you end up turning in? You make no changes to it at all, ever. No proofreading, no grammatical changes, no spelling changes. Just write it and you turn it in. What?
I said I'd be lying if I said I did.
Yeah. I don't even write emails without like proofreading them, guys. I'm not that confident in my writing abilities. Most of the time when we write something, but that's still drafting, that's okay. Most of the time when we write something, we go back and change something in it, right? We might go back and change the order of a sentence. We might go back and change the spelling of a word. We might go back and change some of the grammar. Okay, we change something. We're drafting our writing. Okay? Most of what we're going to talk about in this particular section is got nothing to do with drafting. Okay? There are benefits to drafting. The benefits of drafting are we get to revise things, make sure we're saying what we want to say, we can proofread them and make sure they sound correct, right? Most of what's in here are some ideas and some things to help us stop procrastinating and overcome writer's block, okay? How many of you, as soon as I give you an assignment, leave this room and go do that assignment? Okay, some of you do, right? Because I get the assignment like an hour and a half later. How many of you haven't started doing your assignment that's due tonight?
Which one?
Exactly.
The one that's chapter 3.
The one that's chapter 3. Okay.
Looks like
There's an assignment due tonight. I know that there's like probably 14 of you that haven't turned it in, so I'm figuring someone probably hasn't started it yet. Okay, and that's okay. No, the group one's due tonight too.
To be honest, I thought it was due for us.
Oh, okay. No, it's not due till tonight. What I'm trying to get to is that at some point we all procrastinate a little bit, especially when it comes to writing and things, especially like big papers, right? Professors will sometimes try to motivate you to turn things in earlier. Okay, if you've had me in class before, what's one thing I do to try to get you to turn something in earlier? Extra credit. You know how many people take that extra credit? Like 5%, maybe.
That's about 80, 90 off.
Okay.
I was right.
So yeah, like 3 people, right? Most people don't take that extra credit. Okay. So some things we can do to overcome procrastination. We can pretend that our first draft is an essay exam. Set a timer, consult our outline, and just start writing. Okay. In my DBA program that I'm in right now, we had an actual exam like that. Okay, we had 5 hours to research and write a 5-page single-space paper. Yeah. Another thing you can do is you can pretend you have to give an oral presentation on the subject, and you have 10 minutes. Write down everything you know about it. If those things don't appeal to you, maybe setting small goals, right in the first paragraph, and then giving yourself some kind of reward might be more helpful. So procrastination is one issue. Maybe you don't suffer from procrastination. I do. I have a dissertation that's just sitting there waiting to be worked on that hasn't been worked on in like, I don't know, 4 months. Maybe you suffer though from writer's block. Okay, you sat down to write something, you've got that time blocked off, and nothing comes to your brain. Your brain just goes completely blank. Okay? There's some ways we can try to overcome writer's block. One is to make sure we're choosing the right environment. Okay? We don't want to be somewhere where there's a lot of activity going on that's going to distract us, right? So choosing the right environment, minimizing distractions. It's really hard for me to work on my dissertation if my son's like trying to sit on my lap and, I don't know, play some kind of game or watch TV, right? I can't like type around a toddler, okay? Doesn't work. Maybe you're trying to write things in your dorm room, it's just really loud, okay? I thankfully lived in pretty quiet dorms when I was a student here, but I know most of them are not that quiet. Scheduling a reasonable block of time can help us. Stating the purpose we're writing. Free writing. Free writing is you sit down and you type out or write out whatever comes to your brain, even if it has nothing to do with what you're writing about. It just gets your brain working. Maybe you're someone that needs to think out loud. Okay? When you're doing the first draft of something, don't worry about it being perfect. You can always go back and proofread. And the last thing is to write the easiest parts first. There are going to be parts of a paper or parts of whatever you're writing that are going to be easier to do. Okay? Make sure we're doing those parts first. Some things for when we're writing email messages, which by the way, those of you who've turned in your email homework, they've been pretty good so far. Follow company standards for the salutation. If you work in a company where everyone calls each other by their first name, cool. For the most part in college, you usually address your professors as professor and their last name. And some of you call me by my first name. That's, for me, that's okay. Make sure you're calling people what they want to be called, okay? Use in a descriptive, attention-grabbing subject line. Please don't forget to put a subject, okay? Even if it's just something like, you need help on homework, okay? Homework help. The third point is don't copy the world, right? We don't want to make messages that are super long, email messages that are super long, super hard to read. Use blind carbon copy sparingly, okay? Blind carbon copy means if I send something to Jeremy and I BCC Gavin, Jeremy doesn't know that Gavin can see that message, okay? It's a very sparing thing that we use. Make sure your emails are short and skimmable. Skimmable emails usually have bullet points or shorter paragraphs. Again, we're not copying the world here. Check your tone. Part of your homework is going to be to read some angry emails and to fix them, okay? We don't want to send angry emails because what happens after we send that email? Can we get it back? If we're really angry when we send it, can we get it back? Still no, okay? If I'm angry when I write an email, I know that I'm angry if I'm angry writing an email. I let it sit there. Usually I have my husband read it to make sure it doesn't sound super mean, and I probably go back and change it a couple times, okay? The most times I've ever changed an email, ever rewritten something was 10 different times, 10. I was very angry when I wrote it. Actually, this was like 4 weeks ago, okay? This just happened. By the time I was done though, it didn't sound like I was angry. It was a lot more informative, okay? So check your tone. Provide some context. So don't just say, hey, I need help on this. If you're emailing me to tell me you need help on an assignment, don't say, hey, I need help on this assignment. Tell me what assignment. Tell me what class you're in. Remind me what class you're in, because I have like 120 students. I forget what class you're in sometimes. Earlier today, I thought Sarah was in one of my other classes. Okay, she was talking to me about homework, and I was like, I have no idea what she's talking about. Okay, so provide some context to the person you're writing to. Follow company standards for the closing and the signature line. If everyone in your company uses a specific type of signature that has like the company name and logo, make sure you're doing that as well. If you get an email from me that has the Greenville University logo on the bottom of it and my signature, it probably means I sent it from my computer. If it doesn't, it means I sent it from my phone, okay? But figure out what the company standard is for closing the signature lines in your email. Okay? So a sample email. This is not a bad sample, right? We call each other by their first name, that's fine. When's a good time for me to pick up the lunch vouchers for the visitors from Pingate? It's pretty descriptive. Some context, we had talked about them, about bringing the consultants to the cafeteria to save time. Thanks, Kara. And then she has her signature at the bottom. Okay? It's a pretty good example of a nice, short, concise email. All right, we're going to go on to revising. Revising is really, really short here. We're looking for a couple things when we revise something. We're looking at the content, the style, and the correctness. Okay, when we look at content, we want to reread our purpose statement. Okay, what's the purpose of what we're writing? Make sure the draft of our message gets that purpose across. Okay? For style, make sure you're writing it in the correct style, especially if you're writing an academic paper. Okay? Read each paragraph to get the feel for the rhythm and flow of your writing. One of the best pieces of advice I ever received about writing things is to read it out loud. Okay? Because when you read it out loud, your brain starts to catch things. You read it slower, first of all, because you have to actually say the words. Your brain catches things, maybe that you misspelled, maybe that you didn't mean to say. Maybe you put double words in there that you didn't mean to. Maybe you use a word incorrectly. Right? Your brain starts to catch those things. It also helps your brain understand the rhythm and flow of your writing, if it sounds like something you wrote. Okay? When we revise for correctness, that's where we're looking for those problems with grammar, spelling, and punctuation. So here's my best tip, the best tip I can give you on how to revise things. Online, there's a website called Grammarly. If you've never used Grammarly, you should use it. Okay? You should use it in this class. It is amazing. It will save you lots of time. Everything I wrote for the doctorate I'm working on, I put through the Grammarly. I actually pay to have like the premium version because I use it so much. Okay, and now my husband uses it for his school too. Right? Everything I write goes through that. It tells me if I've misspelled something. Tells me if there's an issue with grammar. I can set a thing on there that says I want this to sound very academic, and it'll tell me if the words I'm using are academic or not. I can set a thing on there that says I want this to sound informal. It'll tell me if the words I'm using are a little bit too much, right? Another thing that it does, or that it can do, and again, I think this might be only if you pay for it. If you're ever worried about plagiarism, it will check things for plagiarism for you. Okay, it's pretty cool. The free version does the grammar, the spelling, punctuation, all that. Okay, so at least use the free version of that to help with your grammar, your spelling, your punctuation. It's better than what you get on Google Docs. It's better than what you can get if you use Word. It's a little bit more advanced. Okay. Last thing, proofreading. When we're doing proofreading, we're looking for errors that are a little bit more difficult to spot. Okay, these usually are misused words that spell checkers won't flag. So things like there, the word there that can be spelled, I don't know, like 3 different ways, right? The spell checker is not going to say, hey, that's spelled wrong. A grammar checker is going to say, hey, that might be used wrong. Look for repeated or omitted words, proper names and numbers. Okay, if you're saying someone's name or you're using the letter I to refer to yourself, make sure you capitalize it. When you're writing out numbers, if the number is one word, like 1 or 4 or 10, generally we would spell that out. If the number is like 162, we can probably go ahead and use numerals for that. Okay? Make sure you're using title or your titles and headings are correct. If it's something you have to print out, I know most things we just turn it online. Proofread it after you print it. know that you're probably going to have to print it multiple times. For sometimes for proofreading, it helps to print things on a different color paper, okay? Another really good rule of thumb is to not wait until the last minute to write these things and then wait a few hours. Okay, so write it, wait a few hours, come back and read it again. Make sure it's actually saying what you wanted to say. You can use a ruler to make sure you're reading slowly, or you can go through and read it backwards one sentence at a time. These two always just make my head hurt, but maybe they don't make yours. All right. We're gonna look at some sentences. We're gonna figure out some things we can do to improve these sentences. We're gonna proofread them. So our first one up here is, it says, they're too busy with their report to be there for the hearing. The theirs, right? All of those theirs are used incorrectly. Okay? What about the next one? I will accept your advice, but the effect of doing so may bring a lot of change. Accept. Advice is also spelled differently. It says advise. I will accept your advice.
A lot is spelled.
A lot. We usually don't like to use the word a lot in formal writing.
Okay.
Effect. Accept and effect are both incorrect in there. We would use accept with ACC and the effect is EFF, right? You're going to present your report first.
Switch to yours.
Switch to yours. Who is going to let us know whose turn it is to make coffee? Whose? Switching the whose, right? And then the last one, how much farther can we pursue this if it's not passed on through regular channels? It's is one, there's another one in there. Passed. Right, we would use, it's not PASC, we should use in this instance PASSED, right? Passed. Okay. We're near the next slide. It's going to have your homework on it. It's going to look like a lot of homework. So before I go there, it's not due for a week, okay? Okay. So I want you to complete the following exercises. Some of these are really short. 2, 4, 7, 8, 14, 15, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Okay? I'm going to switch over to D2L because this is on D2L already. So you guys can see exactly everything that's going to be due coming up.
So are we not gonna have to do it?
For next week, you will, yeah. It's not next week yet, though.
I know about that.
It's just due next week. So what we have coming up on D2L, I'll post a video from today later of all of the homework that's out right now and the due dates. Things that are due today. Some of these things, some of you have already done, okay? The chapter 3 assignment, 1, 4, 7, and 16. Your group assignment, also from chapter 3, number 15, 18, 19, and 20. 2 groups have already turned that in. The email that you're going to write to me where you tell me in so many words why you came to Greenville. I know you already did that. I got you. You're good. Okay, so 20 to 30 words, 10 to 15, 5 or less. Your discussion post for this week is very similar to the in so many words email, except you're going to talk to me about what you want to do your individual project on. There was an issue yesterday where you couldn't see what other people were posting. That should be fixed now because you each have to have a different topic. Usually on our discussion posts, your initial post has to be 100 words. Don't worry about that this time, okay? All that's due today by 11:59. Most of these things you guys have known about for a couple days, so that shouldn't be a surprise. By Sunday, your response discussion posts are due. Talk to people about their topic. What do you think about it? You think it's a good topic? You think it's a bad topic? Give them some ideas for some ways some things they could talk about in there. And then by next Wednesday, the assignment from chapter 4. Okay? All that's on there. We good? We good? Everybody good? All right. Get out of here. I'll see you Friday.
So for our individual projects, what stuff do you want us to pick from?
So it can be anything in business that interests you.
So it could be like our, like land management.
Yeah. That's what you want to talk about. Do it. I just want